This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not using my GPS to navigate the land of a thousand dances, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
And welcome to our live studio audience for another exciting edition of Did You Know? And here we go with round one. Did you know?
The COVID vaccine is free and easy to get. You don't need insurance or an appointment to get your vaccine. Vaccines are available at many locations near you.
And now we're going to double the value. Did you know?
The COVID-19 vaccine is always free of cost. You can visit pharmacies, community health centers, and other health providers in your neighborhood.
And now for the lightning round. Did you know?
The Delta variant of COVID is a mutation that has health experts worried because it's twice as contagious.
Then for our finale. Did you know?
The best way to protect yourself from the COVID Delta variant is to get fully vaccinated. Get your vaccine today.
Find out more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine. Did you know?
Wash your hands, don't touch your face, wipe things down, clean up your space. When you cough and sneeze, do responsibly. If you feel you're getting ill, isolate at home and chill. No, you're not alone. Please pick up your phone and call 206-477-3977. King County 206-477-3977. Public Health 206-477-3977. King County 206-477-3977. Public Health Community Radio Station will provide you with more information. Say Rainier Avenue Radio. Your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Check us out on social media. Facebook and Instagram, Rainier Avenue Radio.world, and on Twitter at Rainier Ave Radio.
All right, here we are. That is High Noon on Seattle Sports Weekly. I'm Mazvita Maraire, your host, and it is High Noon, as we like to say it. And look, we're just gonna start with the obvious, and that is get vaccinated. Well, if you're not vaccinated, get tested. You know what? I didn't really matter to me. It's a personal choice, but there's consequences in each one of these. So if you get vaccinated, thank you. And there it is. Find vaccination appointments at vaccinelocator.doh.wa.gov. And D-Money, I still want to try this screen sharing, but maybe we can, we'll try. There it is. Thank you. Thank you for popping that up. And look, just starting it, everybody, just no pointing fingers, no nothing. Get vaccinated. And if you're feeling not all that well, stay home. That is more of let's just trust the science and trust yourself. That is really all there is to say in terms of that. There's no blame. There really isn't. Whether you're vaccinated or not, you know what? It matters and it doesn't matter, right? It's what we do about it and understanding the consequences. So that really is the message today. So since this is a sports show, I'll bring it home. Let me see. I'll start across the pond. All these English Premier League games have been canceled. There's a couple, my favorite team, Manchester United. They've had two games canceled this week. And The English Premier League canceled a couple other ones. That's the top flight soccer league, and I think it's the best soccer league in the world. And I think we've talked about it, and we'll continue. But they're now we're talking England, right? What they're seeing is an absolute meteorite rise of cases within the team, right? In these clubs. So watching Sky Sports News today, and there's this debate about, well, do we isolate the players? Do we stop playing? What do you do? And it's probably a lot of that, but you can't isolate the players, right? Because they are just a microcosm of society. What happens in sports is a microcosm of society. So if these players are having more and more, or there is now an uptick of COVID-19 cases, what do you think is happening in the general public? So, okay, you might say, well, that's across the pond. What's that got to do with me? I'll bring it home. Just announced, fresh off, like no more than 15 minutes ago, the Seattle Seahawks placed wide receiver Tyler Lockett and Alex Collins on the reserve COVID-19 list. Now, they're just the second and third players placed in the COVID list this season, joining Gerald Everett, who missed 2 games earlier. So, look, Lockett is a leading receiver this season with 1,023 yards, 62 receptions, and while Collins has started 6 games. Now, bring this from a personal level in terms of those players. If that's happening here across the lake, we went from the pond, now we're across the lake. That is, if you live in Seattle, 520 or I-90, across the bridge, if you will. Well, if you live on that side, it's just down the hill. That would be the Renton-Kirkland area. Look, it is, thank you, D-Money, it is paramount that we take care of self and others. You're seeing it in sports. My personal take, I don't think the NFL will make it. I just don't. I think, and what I mean by that is, all right, I'll go back a little bit. I'll take 1 foot back, not 2. I hope the NFL season will make it. And, now that I think about it, probably it will, because that's just the way the NFL is, right? On Monday, there were 79 players in the NFL who tested positive for COVID-19. Now, okay, some of this is the Omicron virus that has now creeped in, and no, it didn't start, being from Zimbabwe. It was all blamed on South Africa, and almost a touch of trying to call it the African virus. Don't you dare. Because I think we have that whole discussion about 18 months ago about calling it the you-know-what. I won't even entertain the fact and go back to what it was being called, right? So, yeah, this is Mazvita Maraire. You're watching Seattle Sports Weekly, and I am on an absolute alert, hope, plea in terms of, look, we are now, in my estimation, right back where we started with this COVID-19. We really are. We are now right where we started. There's no blame, right? And actually, it's somewhat of a positive, because if you start asking yourself, well, why? Why is this happening? Now, I just talked about the Omicron virus, and there's more testing. So people are getting tested on a regular basis. We want to know. Better to know than not know. So if you're going to ask me what's my message, get tested, whether you're vaccinated or not. Get tested. And then that way you know, and I'm not your doctor. I don't know what you should do. I know what I will do if I get tested and I know that I have COVID-19. My little niece, Alice Smith, she had it. She survived it, but she was vaccinated. And she stayed home and for 2 weeks. And I got to shout out to the fam. And she stayed home and took care of herself when she was vaccinated. So we're not at the doom despair. We're more at the maintenance perspective. Now, this is not going away. And we heard that a couple of years ago, people saying this is going to be like the flu. Maybe, maybe not, but we know it's not going away. There's no one clear-cut answer to say this is what we should do, and poof, the COVID-19 will be gone. No, it'll continue to mutate like any virus, like any gene will, and so on and so on. And what we can do is take steps to minimize that and control it. Just like all the other things that have the plague back, the Black Plague, what else we got? Well, the flu. I'll put AIDS in there. What else is there? There's been many diseases that have come into that are in the system. I don't care why they're here. That's not what this show's about, and that's not what this rant is about, or this plea, I should say. What it is about what we can do about it and continue to move forward. So there we go. We can overcome, we will, and have. So let's just take the action that's there. Now, I'm not saying, does that mean you should spend Hanukkah holiday, Kwanzaa by yourself? No, but hey, man, take care of yourself, take care of others. And so there you go. Breaking news in terms from the Seahawks. And speaking of the Seahawks, they got a big game. Where am I going to go? I think I'll just go with this Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner, and we're going to hear that clip. He's taking 9 students on a trip to Silicon Valley to learn about business because it's something that happened to him. Bobby's always about empowering youth, about empowering people. And I'll go on record that I do talk with Bobby on a private chat. And this man is always about listening and learning. And not from a football player perspective, not from one of the best linebackers that, a future Hall of Fame. No, just about being that person that makes a difference in the lives of youth. So that's really, and there's many players, there's many people out there that are making a difference. And before I go to Bobby, you don't just have to be a player. There's a lot of people I know that make a difference. Former players, current players, and just good people that are day to day make a difference. And it's the little things that matter. So when we see these clips we're about to see, yes, that's amazing for the player to do that. But you know what? It's also the people that volunteer for Friday night games for basketball, as we see, we got Rainier Avenue Radio is hosting Metro League basketball games and other things like that. So it really is about making a difference in the community. And it just isn't the football stars, or it just isn't those that are, the stars. It's what we do day to day. And so I'm going to bring in Russell Brown, and then I'll go to Bobby. Russ, what's going on, my man?
Hey, doing good. How about you?
Hey, not too bad. Oh, yeah, representing the Red Hawk. I see you. Look, so thanks for hopping on. I'm kind of going to do a little start-stop with you here because I wanted you also to hear this Bobby Wagner clip. He's taking 9 kids down to Silicon Valley and kind of hear, because you are in academia and you're working for the Seattle U athletic department. You're in touch with athletes all the time. So I kind of wanted that be good for you to hear this. So we're going to go right to it. How's that? And then we can do a little cross chat. D Money, can we do the Bobby Wagner clip?
Just tend to get you something for Christmas, brother.
It's a terrible Christmas gift. I guess I must have been bad this year because Santa definitely, that's worse than cold. Yeah, last week was interesting. I was talking about Hilltop and then mentioned mayonnaise, and that got blown way out of proportion. And I would say 90% of people that I talk to don't actually have mayonnaise in their refrigerator. So that says a lot. Sure. You have one in your fridge?
I have mayonnaise in the refrigerator.
You have mayonnaise in the fridge? You said, of course?
Of course.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay. He's ignoring.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
You a suspect?
I got kids, man.
Huh? So it's not yours, somebody else's.
I mean,
All right.
it's not
No,
mine.
you don't. And you.
It's not mine, no.
No. That's 90%. It's only like 2 people that actually said they got it. So even in this room, no one actually has it sit in their thing. But anyways, so I took a lot of heat for that. I even had a certain company send a record to me, which is nice, but I think they're like 8th or 9th best mayonnaise in the world. So I can't say that's much of an accomplishment either. So
Are those your mayonnaise powder?
to be honest, like I don't know what's good mayonnaise and not good mayonnaise. I don't eat it. And it's funny because they had segments about it. They was doing polls about it. And so in that spirit, you know, I forgot who tweet it was. It might have been yours. We were I've talked about a lot of stuff up here so far this year. Financial literacy, on and on and on. And I randomly mentioned mayonnaise, and that's what goes viral or whatever. So I was thinking last night, and I was like, okay, let's see if we can make something else kind of turn into a big deal. And so I remember an experience that I had a couple years back when I went to Silicon Valley, and I got to see different companies and things of that nature. So since I like helping stuff go viral or getting the message across, I would love to offer the opportunity for 9 students, 9 because it's my favorite number, and opportunity to come down with me at some point after the season to go kind of do a similar tour that I got to do because it changed my life. So I'm going to offer that opportunity for 9 individuals. And the way that you kind of just let me know if you're interested is write as much as you can within Twitter. I think it's like 160 characters, why you want to go and what you want to learn during this trip. And use the hashtag tackle everything. And when you do that, I'll read it, I'll see it. I'm not saying that we're going to come up with winners like right away, but still, this is kind of the idea that came to me kind of late at night. And so we're going to try to put this together. We're going to pick 9 people. We're going to take them down to Silicon Valley, and we're going to get the same experience that I had or close to it, or hopefully better. And we'll see if we can kind of blow that up. And so we're going to turn something that was funny into something that was positive and, help kids. I like investing in people and providing people opportunities that don't typically get to have opportunities. And so we'll see how we make that work. And so that's, what I wanted to talk about. And I also want to shout out to Delta for helping me send a couple families home for the holidays.
Right. You tackle everything and say why you want to go to Silicon Valley?
Yeah, tackle everything and say, let me know why you're interested in the venture capital space and learning about business.
They need to tag you or just the hashtag?
I mean, they can tag me, but they can do the hashtag. They looked amazing, Money. And I think a lot of it, too, I think people don't realize how much of an effect Robert Woods had, in that offense. And so, it's been hard for them to replace a guy like that. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp. And so I think it's just been trying to fill that void. I think you kind of seen, what he does. Obviously, he runs great routes, he catches the ball, but he does a lot of dirty work, a lot of stuff up in the middle. And so trying to replace a guy like that obviously has been difficult. And they seem to have figured it out a little bit last game.
All right, there you go. That is Bobby Wagner. What you think, Russell?
It's a big thing, and that's what you need from your athletes in the community. The fact that he's going to take them down there, not just to, taking kids from lesser situations and giving them an experience, but actually also giving them an education down there in Silicon Valley. That's setting up the future for success and not just a one-off good moment.
All right. And again, so thank you for hopping on. So what is happening at Seattle U, and, is there basketball being played? What's going on there?
Yeah, there's basketball being played. Pretty good basketball, too, if you ask me. A little biased, but good. Off to an 8-3 start on the season as we get closer to conference play. This is a team that, has some turmoil to start the season, but has righted the ship so well. The transfers that have come in have been a big lift, and the team is, I would say, firing in all cylinders. We've had a couple letdowns this season, as you expect, early on, especially in a transition. But I think so far, I think this is a team that is even above the expectations that were coming into the season.
And you're talking about the Seattle U men's basketball team.
Yep.
And they've had an interesting schedule. Got a big game coming up on Saturday. And who are they playing? And
Yep. Saturday it's playing the Huskies over at Montlake, Alaska Airlines. It's a big one. I think the last time we won was 75 against University of Washington. So it's a big matchup. It's huge. And alluding to your, interesting schedule, we played only one game out of state so far. We played 2 away games at Washington State, seeing the clips of there, and at UNLV are only 2 away games. And then everything else has been at Red Hawk Center on campus or at Climate Pledge Arena down there. So it's been a real heavy schedule of home, which sometimes doesn't test you as much, but it's still been a good one for them to find their groove, I think.
Well, hold on now. You can't just sneak Climate Pledge Arena in there. What, how many games, what that's been like?
It's been good. I think it's originally Seattle University was at Key Arena before, obviously, the remodel, and we drew a good crowd. I think the crowds, we'd like to see those pick up a little bit more, but I also think it's it's just about putting ourselves out there and playing good basketball, and that's how you draw in a crowd, and that's what we're doing. The formula is there; it just takes time. But the arena is beautiful. Anybody's seen it, whether it was the Gonzaga Battle in Seattle game against Alabama or us. It's a beautiful arena. It's going to be great for basketball down the road, and is currently a great venue for basketball as it is.
And to your point, SU is 8-3 overall, so they're going to take on the 4-4 Pac-12, but SU is not no NAIA. So this is a Division I basketball game, correct?
Yep. Yeah, correct. It's a Division I game, part of the Western Athletic Conference. Seattle U now, they made the jump, I want to say back in 2008, back to Division I play. Obviously, people know, well, they don't. That's the problem. But back in the day, Seattle University was the school for basketball. The championship appearances, Elgin Baylor coming through, the O'Briens, for only college team to ever beat the Harlem Globetrotters. So, the history is there that people don't know. Also, only team to beat the Mighty Miners of University of Texas El Paso. If anybody's checked out Glory Road before, that undefeated team, first 5 African-American starting lineup, Seattle University was the only team to beat them. So, there's the history there. But when they went down to NAIA and now have reemerged, I think a lot of that history has been lost on generations, kind of what the Sonics are. They were there and then they're gone. So you got to teach a new generation. So I think it's just re-educating the public on, Seattle University basketball is a real thing, and it's getting better every year that we've been back in Division I. So, we still feel sometimes like a little brother to UW. So this is a big opportunity for us to knock them off a little bit.
I swear it. I covered the Sonics, and I've been around, but I don't know any bigger Sonic fan than you.
I'm always repping green and gold.
Fair enough. Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the other Seattle University basketball team as well, right? There's the men's team and they have a women's team. And how are they doing? If you could take us through there, where they're at right now.
The women's team, actually, they're in a Montana road trip right now. So they'll be playing the Grizzlies and the Bobcats coming up. They have a game tonight, actually, against the Grizzlies. So they're kind of in the same boat. They've gotten a lot of transfers that have come in, and they're trying to get that gel together. They had a huge win against Boise State back on the 2nd, just hosted Washington back on Friday. So they're also doing in the same boat. And thank you for bringing that up, because they don't get enough credit either for being a Division I program, because Susie Barcombe, who's the head coach, she led them to the NCAA tournament just a few years ago. So this is a program that, by no means is on the downswing or by any means, a pushover program. As Susie Barcombe really has that team in a good space right now and continue to rebuild back to the NCAA tournament. But the 2 Montana games are going to be big. Like I said, tonight at 6 p.m. If you want to tune in on ESPN Plus down in Missoula, and then we'll be at Montana State over there in Bozeman on Saturday when the men's team's over at UW.
And just, you're a basketball aficionado, whether you play, whether you're watching, or whether you're broadcasting it. Just what do you see the benefit of having, Seattle basketball, male and female, the AAU programs, and how big can this Seattle U, University of Washington rivalry continue, and what benefit can that be to college basketball?
It's huge for college basketball, and I think it's huge for the region as well. I think you saw the success that Gonzaga had bringing Alabama. Alabama has no connection really to the state. Sold out Climate Pledge Arena. It was packed. It was loud. It felt like a Sonic game, the old school style. And I think it used to be a home and away for UW and Seattle U when Cameron Dollar was the head coach of Seattle U. So they had that. So when UW would play at Key Arena, I'm not saying that's ever going to happen again. I don't have inside information by no means. But I think that rivalry, if it can become more competitive, is big. And I think it will continue to grow basketball in a city that already has, as you said, so much history in the sport. So many top high school prospects that go into NCAA Division I come from the metro area and all over the state. I don't want to just focus on Seattle, but all over the state. So if we can get a true rivalry where it's that close, where the campuses are, traffic-wise, but so close together, I think it's such a good thing for the city. And I think it's a good thing for people to really recognize both those schools, because I think UW right now, they're in a rebuilding process as well. So the fact that maybe we can build at the same time and kind of butt heads, to us, yeah, we want to beat them. They want to beat us. But the fact that we could butt heads, I think is good for the community as it is.
To your point, there's so much talent in terms of at the high school level and I'll put junior colleges because sometimes they transfer, but getting less and less of that because the colleges are going to themselves upping Bellevue College, if you will. But there's so much talent in terms of whether it's the Metro, the Kinko, and you've seen it because you've done some high school broadcasts. You do that every so often when you get a chance now. So that would be huge benefit to the talent that's here, and it would stay local as opposed to going, where you need to go. So, all right, that's the time we have. I'm gonna bring Lars on before the break, and so we can do crosstalk between us three, and then we'll go into the break. So, yeah, Russell Brown just took a moment to hop in. Hey, he's working, so to hop in for a quick second. Lars, come on in. I'll just take both of you to take us into the break.
Guys?
And
hey,
sorry guys.
I gotta ask Russell really quick. How does it feel to actually know you're going to be able to cover a basketball game? I mean, it feels like
great.
For years since I covered a basketball game this season.
Yeah, it's been great. Like Maz and I have been doing our thing on the broadcast, but yeah, it's gonna feel good to finally be back. I think last time I was at UW for a basketball game, no one was there, so it's gonna feel good to have at least some fans in there and feel like a natural basketball facility.
Nicely done, Lars. Go ahead, Lars. I'm sorry. Yeah, what are you gonna say?
I was gonna say, how many people do you think are gonna show up? Because I mean, that's kind of been the thing, I mean, it's not Arizona, so it's not gonna be a sold out 10K, but maybe you'll get a couple K.
Well, I mean, we're dealing with that as well, over on at Seattle U. I don't know. It's gonna be tough because it's a tough situation when students are on break and you don't have that the dog pound or dog pound, whatever it's called, at their usual hype level. But I think it's usually when you get the alumni coming back and the older crowd, sometimes quote unquote the more knowledgeable crowd. So I think it's gonna be a good one. I know Seattle U, we're bringing quite a few people, so I think it'll be a nice atmosphere.
Well, there you go. All right. So of note, Brandon, I know you're stepping into this type of profession, and congratulations again in terms of Seattle.
Appreciate it. Yep.
And Lars, that is Brian Tom's last day. Mm-hmm. You were at the press conference yesterday. So and I know you've you met him, Russell, over at Seattle, but it is Brian Tom's last day as the University UW men's basketball media coordinator, and he's been there for 18 years. So, got a card and all that people sign it, but those the people like Russell and Brian Tom just don't. you're stepping into it. But all y'all that are listening, there's a lot of behind the scene work that's done. The players are amazing, the coaches are amazing, and the trainers and all of that. But for you all to be able to see that broadcast and get access to the players, there's done some people that stay behind the scenes and always want to stay behind the scenes and just never get the credit that they deserve. So yeah, I'm sure he's not listening, but if he is, a shout out to Brian Tom and all the work, the amazing 18 years at the UW. And so, Russell, we look forward to talking with you more. And again, congratulations on your career over at Seattle University. Lars, don't go nowhere because Scott Lego he's ready as always. Ligo, I gotta get that right. You think I was right? But hey, I'm just amateur trying to find my way. All right, fellas, thank you so much. We're gonna go on break. And this is Seattle Sports Weekly. Russell Brown up top there, Seattle University Athletics. Lars Hanson of the Dawg Report on the bottom. D-Money, take us to the break. Thank you.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not being reprimanded by traffic cops, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Africans kidnapped and brought to the shores of what is now Brazil never surrendered their love, faith, or culture. From generation to generation, the connection of Brazil to the motherland has continued. Join Dance with Dora and special guests for Brazilian Connection 2021, a music and dance experience exploring themes of love, transformation, culture, and connection through Afro-Brazilian dance and its cousins. Live at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute, Saturday, December 18th at 7 p.m. Light Brazilian refreshments to follow the show. Tickets on Eventbrite.
The Beat of the Fox with Nastiness is back on K-Fox Night Beat.
Yo, what's the deal? It's the legendary Hall of Fame DJ Mixmaster Ice from UTFO.
What's up? Who you thought this is? This is Sir Mix-a-Lot.
And this is Terry Lewis.
And I'm Grand Mixer GMS.
What's up, y'all? This is DJ Third Degree.
This is JJ Hudson from the High Children family.
Sunday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's K-Fox Night Beat with DJ Nastiness.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music. Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
That's my noise.
Peace.
All of us have struggled through the COVID-19 pandemic, and many of our communities have been particularly hard hit. Some things definitely need to change, but a few things should stay the same, like protecting your child from serious diseases you can prevent now. Preventable diseases like measles, mumps, and whooping cough. Is camp, childcare, or in-person school on your family's agenda? Give your child a healthy and safe summer and school year by making sure they're up to date on vaccinations and well child visits. You have the power to protect. Call your healthcare provider to find out what vaccinations your child is due for and make an appointment today. If you need help finding a provider, visit parenthelp123.org or call the Help Me Grow Washington hotline at 1-800-322-2588. An interpretation is available.
Rainier Avenue Radio.world is your 24/7 digital media hub. Tune in at Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TuneIn apps.
All right, we are back. Seattle Sports Weekly. I'm Mazvita Maraire, Lars Hanson of the Dawg Report. Halftime. So I went in the come on back, Lars. So I went into the halftime break and I went on the board and I think I got it right, Coach. I wrote down how to say the name and I think we're gonna see. See if my halftime adjustments work here. We are so honored to have Scott Lego on the show.
Nice job, sir. Nice job.
It's those halftime.
Trust me, with my last name, I'm sure like you felt in your life, there have been a few times when you've been in a restaurant, you're like, did they call us or they did not call? I'm not sure if they called us or, I mean, it is what it is.
Absolutely. And I think the 2 restaurants I've been called to, mine is usually the drive-through. Order number 3. You're going to the Met. I know how you roll, but
not I. I can't afford that stuff. That's for sure. That's for sure.
So glad to have you. And like I said, you're pretty much we're gonna get you on every couple of weeks. As much as it's just the way of the landscape, and we just appreciate someone who's in the profession, has been in so many different levels. We know the student advocacy, you're doing that, which you know what, I forget. Will you just give a shout out to that program? I always forget to give you your moment to shout out about your program.
I appreciate that. It's called Student Athlete Advocates. I started it when I was from Garfield High School, and we just help basically parents and student athletes through the process. We're not a recruiting agency. We just explain the process. And as you can imagine, I'm sure Lars knows that, transfer portal, all the levels that we're dealing with now, you need as much help as you can because it can be very confusing. When I came up in the system, there was one thing called a red shirt. Now there's like 26 shirts, and I don't know how many shirts they even got anymore. It's that out of control. So it's just a different landscape that we deal with. And kind of to your point, as when you started the whole thing, I mean, there's nothing going on in college athletics and football. I mean, it's just kind of quiet. I mean, I don't even know how Lars is. I mean, I kind of can't believe he can come up with a story because there's nothing going on. I mean, it's just quiet. There's just nothing going on. So I get it.
Yeah, and I'm going to do this. There is so much. When you have power in the room to both of you, I mean, you guys, Scott, you just talked about what you do, but Lars, I do not know anybody better that covers the recruiting beat. I mean, you cover football. There's no doubt about that, right? We're side by side in terms of, the Pac-12, but nobody covers the Pac-12, I think, from a holistic perspective and by head and shoulders above the rest in terms of recruiting. There's nobody that does it. And I say that because you're the guy that's going to high school football games and in Sumner and Spanaway, at Memorial Stadium without missing a beat. So since I have both power in the room, where do you all want to go? Because here's what we got. We've got DeBoer talking about his recruits. We've got the coaching going on. Where do you want to go? I got all kind of. Where shall we start, fellas?
Let's start with the press conference because when he mentioned not having a full staff yet and all that. That'll be a good lead into the coaching.
Okay, all right, let's do that. Let's go into. But Lars, I just have all him starting that and then going with the 5 kids. So D, we might have to cut it short because I want to spend more time in terms of what they do. But here's Kalen DeBoer, the UW coach, kind of his announcement of the 5 players that he got. So let's hear that and be ready, D. D
to cover our program. I really appreciate all of you. So obviously today is a exciting day. Just announcing a class and so much more that's continuing to evolve with our program. It's exciting, growth, and that's what it's all about. Every day getting better, and today we got a lot better. There's no question. So 5 signees today that I'll certainly go into a little bit of depth with and be happy to answer some questions. But the top priority was to get the guys that were committed. The guys that when I looked at them on paper and watched their film and just understood more about them, were guys that loved this program, had deep ties to it in some ways, whether it's because they were committed for a long time or local, whatever it might be. But that was a top priority. Excuse me. We have 2 guys from Arizona. We have 1 from Nevada, and then we have 2 guys that are local that I'm super fired up about. Before I get into each one of those, it's a 5 guys in the class right now, and it's going to be a small class. It was going to be a small class even before I got here. When you look at just the seniors that graduated, there was only 6 seniors that graduated. There are a few guys that are leaving early for the NFL, and so we'll be replacing those. And then of course be a few guys that leave. I'm sure. With the portal and everything. And I think a lot of those guys kind of had their minds made up, but they certainly did a great job of
being respectful and giving us a chance to talk with them, now as I've been here on campus. So it's gonna be a small class. There's just not a lot of spots to fill. I think looking at the class, moving forward, I think we're in a really good place going into February, or January, leading to February signing day, with laying the foundation on a few guys that we'll work hard to get, that we see as guys that can help us in our program. I think there's also a continue to evaluate once we really get to be around our team in January, which is one of the benefits of being a quarter system. We'll get to see our guys in January when the staff returns or is here and the players return. And then we can make some more decisions on exactly the holes we need to fill in the areas where we identify needs. But I feel like we're in a good place moving forward with some of the other top prospects that won't be signing here in the days ahead. So as a whole, I really feel like this is a talented group, and obviously that's your goal. But they're a talented group. I think I love the length. I'm big on length. Obviously, speed's a huge deal, but I love length because you can put weight on length, and the game was meant to be played physical. And those guys putting some size on over the years as they develop in our strength program, be something that certainly will pay huge dividends. And I think just in general, these guys are rock solid. Too, the 5 gentlemen that have signed with us here today, give you the names first and then talk a little bit about them. But Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver, 6'1", 196, from Liberty High School in Las Vegas. Denzel Boston, wide receiver, 6'3", 191, from Emerald Ridge High School here in Washington. Parker Brailsford, 6'2", 255, from Saguaro High School in Mesa, Arizona. Lance Holtzclaw, an outside linebacker, DN type, drop end player, 6'3", 201, from Desert Ridge High School in Arizona. And Ryan Otten, local and obviously brother of Cade, tight end, 6'6", 224, from Tumwater here in Washington. So just a few notes kind of about each guy, and then of course answer any questions. Jeremy, first of all, he'll be a mid-year, and just a very dynamic player, just really special. Committed early in the process, well over a year ago, I think at the end of July, and his tie-in and his energy that I think he's going to bring, just because he's so comfortable, so familiar with this program already. It's truly exciting. And I think, him seeing what we were going to do offensively got him even more motivated and excited to be a part of it. And, he's just such a dynamic guy, wildcat, running back, punt return, kick return, just everything he does. It's impressive. He had 3 punt returns, 1 kickoff return, an interception for a touchdown just this last year. So not going to get too much into stats because I think in the releases, you guys can all see that. But I think the other pieces, durable. I've written durable, that, he's a durable player, just with the physicality he plays with and the ways they utilized him. I thought that was really impressive. Great balance. And then I think most importantly, he's got a maturity about him. He's got a focus about him where he really understands what he wants to do and his goals ahead, whether it's at this level or beyond. And he understands the work that it takes. And again, that goes back to just, how he's grounded because of the support system that's around him. He was the first committed in this class, again, going way back into 2020. So Denzel Boston is another wide receiver here, Emerald Ridge High School. I think, really just getting to know him, he really just wanted to stay local. And when I saw the film, I wanted him to stay local too. There was no question. He just is got a long frame. The catch radius is enormous. He's been so consistent from year to year, and I'm fired up about him. I think he's going to put on some good solid weight, and it's only going to make him quicker, twitchier, which he already has, and he's just naturally skilled. Great body control. He loves.
Yeah. There you go. Sorry, guys. Thanks, D-Money. I didn't want to, keep going on. I would kind of want to hear a couple what you guys thought. Just to finish that off, Parker Brailsford, offensive lineman, 6'2", 255, Mesa, Arizona, and then Lance Holtzclaw, outside linebacker, 6'3", 201 pounds from Dorchester, Massachusetts, Desert Ridge High School. And of course, Ryan Orton, tight end, 6'6", 224 from Tumwater, Washington. Couple things I'd like for you guys to kind of comment on. What's your thoughts on five guys and these five guys? And then we can go into, just thoughts on this, on the five guys.
Well, I think Kalen touched on it a little bit in the press conference, even though we didn't show it, that specific clip. It was always going to be a small class. So they just don't have the numbers. They're only graduating 6 guys. You lose Sawyer Racanelli and Mark Redmond to a transfer on offense, Cooper McDonald on defense. There's a few other guys that are probably going to be exiting in the months and weeks to come, as he alluded to. So the roster, I think he said, is the spots are going to be about 15 by the end. So you're going to add about 10 more guys, maybe 5 transfers, 5 recruits, depending on how he mixes that about and who specifically goes. So I don't think it's necessarily bad. It's just, it is what it is. They didn't have enough room. You're not going to, the thing you don't want is a new coach to come in and just run off like half the team. That's really what you don't want. Even if you're trying to set your culture, quote unquote, that's not how you do it. So I think signing a few guys was what he needed to do, and it's what he did.
Scott?
Yeah, numbers are numbers. That part is, it's set in the stone. I think looking forward to what Lars is saying, if there's 10 spots open, there's 5 left, maybe high school wise. I think, we can go back to Coach Peterson's first year and what he did with Buda Baker and flipping him from Oregon. I think the guy down at the Rainier Beach is the key to the whole thing. If they can flip him, get him, that would make this class change and thing. But more importantly, would have to change with the culture statewide of what they're doing with recruiting. I think that's going to be huge. So I'm very interested in watching that. And, like we talked a couple weeks ago, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Texas A&M, all those guys have been through Rainier Beach. So this is time to put your chest out, put your, fence around the state and say, we're going to keep the guys that belong here. So, if you can think of it nationally from what we've looked at, we had 2 kids from the state go to Texas A&M. So it's nationally we're being looked at, recognized that we have some talent up here. But to have them pick and choose what they want out of the state, it's not. You don't want that. You want to be able to hold on what you have. So I think it's really important the next month to see what happens with that move with Connerly. And I think Josh deserves me to at least call his name because not the kid down at Rainier Beach, because he's quite a get if they can get him. So. It'll be interesting. Very, very interesting.
As a coach, I wonder if you could take us inside. He talked about January, right? And the quarter system. So, all right, break is coming up. So they can't talk to the players. And then when the kids come back for the winter, they start team meetings.
That in general, first, going back to the first part, recruiting has a dead period right now, just because we've gone into bowl games. Allows all the other teams to have, not have disadvantage of everybody else be out recruiting. They would have that bowl preparation. That's number one. Number two, we just give kids time off, from the program and things like that. Then they will bring them back, and then he can have access to them once they start the school year back up. But, to what Lars is saying, I would expect in the next 2 weeks to see, some portal moves and things like that. And then they readjust their numbers, their board, how it works, and then they kind of start to go back out about it. Some kids will maybe wait till the springtime even, kind of go through the spring, see what it's like, see if they can handle this. If it's, some coaches want to come in and, really set a standard and, to Lars' point, not to have really run them off, but to set their culture. And some kids are like, I don't think I want to do this. I was with the late thoughts and things like that, or Coach Peterson, and it just changes a little bit. So that will be, there could be a little more attrition down the road, but that's, let's face it. I've seen Indiana so far has like 19 kids or roughly around there in the portal that they're looking at. It's, you can change your roster quickly through the portal. So there is an opportunity. There's, I think right now, 10,000 kids in the portal wise. I think football is like 4,000. So I think there's a couple kids you can choose from, which is kind of my point to everybody. There's a statistic that came out this week on the portal about so many kids make some changes. For the high school kids, you better listen to this. The numbers are going to change for you. There's going to be less opportunities for you. So you better jump on the chance and the opportunities a little faster than you think and not try to wait it out because, the big timers are going to get what they want. The little guys, the guys at the fringe, those 2-3-star guys, I would jump on the chance to get. So
I will say to kind of go to extend that, because he makes a good point. Scott makes a good point. But the thing is, for those kids that if you don't get those big time offers, realize that a lot of these big time schools are taking kids from G6 schools. You know, Washington just added a UC Davis cornerback transfer. They got the kid from Indiana. You know, they're going. So it's not to say that, oh wow, I'm destined for UTEP or, you know, Utah State or whatever. It's like, right, go there for a year or two, and then in a year, Alabama's going to want to offer you if you're an all-conference player, and boom, there you go. Now you can be sour about it, or you can be like, hey, you know what? It was what it was. It is what it is, and I can make the most of it through NIL anywhere I go. There you go.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's FBS coaches that are playing those preseason FCS games, and they're like writing it down. Hey, that number 6, he's only a sophomore, and you know, maybe after the game when they're not supposed to, but there could be a push out on that whole deal. So it has been done already. So you're absolutely right. It doesn't mean if you sign at the lower level that you can't move yourself up. But my point is the number games is just constantly changing, and you need to be very aware of those things.
Absolutely.
We like to say in our little hashtag, know your numbers, because the numbers are changing about a minute around here. I mean, it's crazy.
Let's uncollapse some great comments you guys made. Lars, you speak with the players, not that you don't, Scott, but obviously you don't mention any names because that's your strength. But if you are a player right now, whether you're probably college, some of the players you've talked to, I know you know who's going to go to the pro. We don't need to go there. But how are you looking at the portal? Because Scott gave us a great perspective from an institution perspective, but from a player perspective, how do you see the portal?
I think you see. Well, again, I know it's a cliche, but everyone's different. Everyone is your own player. You can't view, like Buki, for example, when he came in, he was a guy that was going to get schools no matter what. It didn't matter where he ended up. He was going to get interest because he was a very good player in Oklahoma, former 5-star recruit. Some guys, it's like, oh, well, I'm not getting playing time, and you also don't really have that much game film. And it's almost like when you go think about going to the next level, can I declare early? Well, what game film are you going to put on? Yeah, you might have great 6'2" measurables or whatever, but like if scouts don't see you, you're going to go undrafted and you're going to have to fight your way. So is it really, really worth it? Same thing with the portal. Is it worth it to burn the bridge of saying, hey, I want to go in the portal and see you guys? Oh, I only got 2 offers and one of them is an FCS offer. Like I thought this was going to be like free agency. I thought I was going to get a lot more interest. And it's like, well, you have to realize just because you want something doesn't mean something wants you, and you have to find your fit because not every school, like to Scott's point, has the numbers. Some, and everything is fluctuating. So when do you enter the portal? It's almost like there's a lot of strategy that goes into it because if you enter now, you likely kind of know where you're going or you're going to have options. If you're a guy who isn't sure, you're probably going to wait until after the spring once you've at least got some more practice film and things like that, or, gone through a spring with the coaches, seeing if you're going to fit or not.
So, okay. Hold that just for a quick second, because that's a good point. So if I'm a student, you both said I have a choice, right? Coaching change. I can make my decision right now, right? And if I make it now, is there a timeline? What's the deadline for me to make that decision? So it's now or the spring. Is that correct?
I would say so. I mean, to Coach DeBoer's point, the start of spring quarters, I think, January 6th or the first or second week of January. So it's got to be at least by then because, if you're enrolling for another quarter, it's like, all right, well, I'm in. You're not. I think that is what makes UW different than some other schools where if they lose a guy to a transfer, if it's kind of known that this person's going to transfer, it's usually done at the end, or it's rarely done in the middle. Or like, oh, hey, 3 weeks into the quarter, now I'm going to transfer. It's like, no, you're gonna stay. Let's wait it out. Let's do it at the end when you graduate. They do that for APR. Fun fact. But so there's a lot of things attached to when a player transfers. So.
I'm sorry, Lars. Great point, Scott. He did mention that. To Lars's point, he did. We heard in the clip. He said, "Thanks for the quarter system." Can you elaborate more? Kind of what Lars said, but
it's a calendar system that it creates the difference, and so an easy one to use is Kentucky basketball. because they're on a, semester system. So it's really easy for them to do a one and done, because I'm going to be blunt here when I say this. Kentucky basketball, I can get a top-notch recruit, bring him in, and literally probably tell him without having to say that you should do this, but you don't necessarily have to go to class, and you can come here, you can do your thing, if the kid knows he's out, because the way the system works, as we know academically, if you screw up the quarter one at the UW, quarter two, you're going to get this little letter says you're not academically right, you're in trouble, you're on probation, blah, 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 down the road. In the semester system, you get it on the second semester, but you have so many weeks to get it done. Well, guess when? About the time you can get in real trouble. It's about April 3rd. That's when you're about to get in trouble. That's when you're about to officially get you're no longer in part of the school. Well, guess when March Madness ends? About April 3rd. And that kid goes. So the UWs that are kind of a disadvantage that way. Advantage in the beginning of the season, when they're in, when the semester schools are going and they're having preseason camp, Huskies aren't in camp. The football players aren't in school, which is great. They have 24/7, 365 access. I know there's this 20-hour work rule. I get all that, but my point is they have access to them. And then, but it hurts the UW when it comes to transfers and those things. And so that's an interesting piece, but you can play with it. You can do things. Compliance is obviously going to be part of this whole deal, how they're going to handle those things. But to Lars' point, once you're in, and you might as well get your credits and be done and keep yourself going forward academically. I'm not here to say the Kentucky system is good either. So I just want to be very clear to parents. That is not the goal. The goal is to get an education. So don't use the Kentucky basketball, but it's always been a under the ground secret laughing about Kentucky basketball. They basically can have kids there that never even go onto campus, which is really sad.
Actually, very well done. That's why we have you, because that is just an amazing insight in terms of, you used Kentucky as an example. It wasn't a shot at Kentucky.
No.
It was in terms of how the calendar works and all those things. And very well done. That's why we have you. Lars, I'm not sure why we have you, but you're always going to be here as long
we
as
have to have somebody to pick up the good looks, younger, better looking. Got a lot more, play at the bar and tavern than you and I would have. We'd be the two bald guys on the end. All the young girls would be talking to him.
Yeah, that's it. I would just say he has more hair and keep it pushing, but probably got a minute or two. I just wanted you guys to have your say, because I some of the time we'll go into, me, I'm all for the players, and I think blah, 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 the portal coaches take advantage, but that's for another show. What I want to do right now is just have you guys, again, I just appreciate y'all coming on, but Urban Meyer, the Jackson, my sister, who's a neurosurgeon in Zimbabwe, I'm talking to her today in WhatsApp, and she knows exactly what happened. She's a top 5 neurosurgeon in the world, and she's texting me, not my brother-in-law. She's texting me about having Jackson State. What in the world? Can you guys, in the 2 minutes, have at it? Urban Meyer, and also the Deion Sanders, and what's going on?
I'll go ahead and talk on Deion in the first part. That's what Florida State asked for. That Florida State didn't give Deion the job and said, "Oh no, this is not the same as high school, Deion. You need to actually, go prove it. We're gonna go hire Mike Norvell, this clearly proven coach." And Deion's like, "All right, I'll go through myself." At Jackson State, 10-1, wins the Southwest Conference or Southwest whatever conference, and knows the value of relating to players and young men of this generation. You can't replicate Deion. Deion is a guy who just gets it. He's a guy who parents they watched him play as he grew up. So it's like, if you're a kid, especially with the portal, you can go to Jackson State for a year or two, and then you and Deion can both transfer to another big school.
No, don't put that in. See, don't, because you're minimizing. He might stay there forever.
And
that's why I gotta check you, Coach. Go ahead. See, that's what. Go ahead, Coach. I want you to have your time. I don't want to.
Well, to jump on what Lars is saying,
don't do that. But go ahead.
What I'm saying is, what concerns me with the whole deal is, to be honest with you, is now that this went down, now this young man has $1 million deal from Barstool. And that's not through the school, that's through another entity, which is my concern with the NIL, As you both know, I always say the unintended consequences. And again, I'm all for the kid getting the money. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the NIL was supposedly, I mean, look at Texas last week, what they did with their offensive linemen. If you're on the offensive line scholarship football player, you're basically going to get paid $50,000 to play offensive line. Not a bad deal. I mean, if I was a recruit and I was going to I was making 50 grand, I'm in Austin, Texas. You guys know I love food. Franklin's barbecue's there. I'd be in like a Flynn. Fat, probably never even play, but I'd be in. But my point is, when we start getting third-party entities like a Barstool involved in the NILs, that's where it gets interesting. And to kick from the ending of this, for me personally, is the Quinn Ewers situation, which is a really interesting case to watch now. Quinn Ewers was a young man who was from Texas. Texas Association would not let high school kids get money. He goes and leaves and goes reclassifies, goes to Ohio State, gets in the quarterback room. He's the fourth quarterback, never gets playing time, never gets anything. Goes through all the way to the Big Ten championship weekend, which his team was not in, is in a commercial during the game for a truck. Okay. On Monday, pulls out of Ohio State. They repo the truck that he was promoting on Saturday during the game. And if I'm the Ohio State booster and I gave him that $1 million, I'd be saying, you need to call one of those Texas oil guys and they can replace the $1 million and I want my $1 million back. It's going to be very interesting to watch. That is the part that's interesting to watch. Go ahead.
Fair enough. Sorry, we got to go, but again, we're gonna have you back on. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. Because this sure sounds really like way back in the day when some rich, privileged white people were controlling the fate of college athletics. Nothing's changed, and nothing's changed in that perspective, and that saddens my heart to a certain extent. But I get to say the last word. But before I go, you guys, it's such a privilege to have you on the show, Lars, as always, as a Dawg Report. Appreciate you coming on. And Coach Scott Ligo, I appreciate you coming on, like getting told at 12:00. I mean, at 11:55. I mean, 11:30. Can you come on and you making it work? So, and the insight which you bring. So, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Always fun to see you.
All right, we gotta go. That is it. Seattle Sports Weekly. Coach Ligo, Lars Hanson, Dawg Report. I'm Mazvita Maraire. D Money's taking us to the break. We'll be back, and thank you all listeners. We'll be back next week.